are all aware of what the decisions that were taken there.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Now, the Burial Committee were tasked with considering the final outstanding issue on the survey and to bring their recommendations to the next Parish Council meeting, which is tonight. The next Parish Council meeting following the meeting of the Burial Committee, and the meeting took place last Thursday. So, just wanted to say, you can see the proposal that was carried regarding the solar lights. That solar lights will be permitted on graves provided they are kept in good condition with batteries and or lights changed regularly and not allowed to deteriorate. A member of the Burial Committee will oversee the condition of solar lights and take action to remove any that do not comply with the above. And that was quite an important addition to the notes. But what I also want to explain is the reasons for what you will have seen as the vote there. So, and I feel this is necessary because of the reasonings behind, but if we go back over what's happened this year, on the 16th of March, it was agreed to put solar lights to public consultation. On the 7th of July, the Parish Council agreed to proceed with a survey that would do that. But on the 20th of July, the Burial Committee questions for the survey were formulated, but in August, when the full cost of the consultation was revealed, a proposal was passed by Council that the, sorry, I'm just going to read it, that the quotation for the survey be put in abeyance until the Burial Committee consider the final outstanding issue on the survey and bring their recommendations to the next Parish Council meeting. Now, from the meeting and from what you can see, it was clear, I was chairing the meeting, so it was clear as chair to me that there was an impasse had arrived between the four members of the Burial Committee. And that if we all stuck by our decisions and they remained the same, then agreement wouldn't be reached. So there are a couple of things that as chair I considered. That as chair I could use my casting vote, 2 for and 2 against, and the casting vote following chairmanship rules or accepted chairmanship rules on governance should always be used to return the situation to the status quo. And the status quo in this case would mean the original burial rules, which were just one sheet, which did state that solar lights were not permitted at all. The other thing was to allow a deadlock and instead of using a casting vote, refer the matter back to the council. And I decided against that because I felt that we had been tasked again with the Burial Committee making a decision. So on that premise and in the interests really of resolving the issue, I decided that I wouldn't second the second motion, so that you can see why the motion was carried. That was carried, so that solar lights will be permitted. But an important part of this is that it is the Burial Committee's responsibility to ensure that they are kept to within reasonable. But they're not allowed to deteriorate in any way, because that would be detrimental to the plant life, insect life, and everything that we want to encourage. Okay? So that's, with that in mind, then I'm now going to propose that the revised rules that include all of the new regulations be accepted by the council.
Can I am really pleased that that's come to the table, but there is something that I think we need to amend slightly in these regulations, and it is regarding the solar lights. we have been quite prescriptive right the way through here on the size of monuments, materials and everything,
Yeah.
but we have not put anything in to control the number, type, placing of solar lights. I am comfortable with solar lights being placed within the plinth or on the plinth, but it's numbers, quantities and where they're placed. I am uncomfortable with them being stuck in the ground, and with some of them they are wired, they'll have a solar panel to charge them, and I think that is not the sort of thing that we want to permit on the graveyard. If people want to put a couple of solar lights on the plinth, I am happy with that, and if they want to build them into the plinth, again I'm happy with that. What I don't want to see is stuck all the way down the grave, because that then prevents the groundsman doing his mowing. It stops us having this lawn cemetery, which is the agreement that was there for that cemetery in the first place. So I think I would like to see some form of limitations on the number of solar lights in there. That's if I can get somebody that will agree with that. My recommendation is that no more than 2 solar lights to be mounted on or within the plinth of the headstone. That is the recommendation that I would make for a slight change on there. That's if anybody else is happy, would be willing to second that.
Could I add to that amendment, Mr. Chairman, if I may? Well, I think we should restrict them to white light solar lights, because they now come out with flashing ones, different colours, etc. And I think we should restrict it to white solar lights.
I'm happy to accept that. So,
Mr. Chairman, can I just point out one thing you said about the grave? We also discussed on the burial committee that, in a later point, that anybody putting anything onto the graves would then take responsibility for the care of cutting and keeping the grave. So it wouldn't need the groundsman to mow or go over it. It would be the responsibility of the people. And I think the chairman will bring that up later. She was just talking the solar lights.
Yeah, I wasn't going to. So can I just sort that issue? That issue was resolved some time ago. It was mentioned at the meeting, Ryan, but we're not intending to go through individual rules at this stage. The only rule that I had to recommend was the solar lights rule, but the rest, what you're talking about, is actually in the body. It is included in the body of the new rules, and it's for acceptance by the whole council. The only one that we're dealing with now, and the garden area.
I think you've done a wonderful job in actually getting something that is actually workable and work. I just am concerned that without some prescriptive description of what is permitted, we could get a free fall down there, and I don't think that is right and proper in a burial ground. Karen?
Can I just ask why it would be a problem for them to be a different colour, or to perhaps flash?
I do not think that, personally, I don't think a burial ground is a place for flashing lights.
I personally don't think it is. I think
that's a personal opinion.
It's something that would not be supported by some of the people who I represent.
Okay. But one of the rules of the burial ground is that you're not actually allowed in there after dark. So I really don't see how it would actually affect anybody.
If you take that to the extent, then why bother having solar lights in there?
Well, the reason people put the solar lights on there is because it's a little light over their loved one's grave, and it gives them a little bit of solace that their loved one isn't completely in the dark. So there is a difference there, to be fair.
Just say about the burial ground not being open at night. We can't close it completely because it's a right of way.
Yeah.
The general acceptance of rules was that burial grounds are open from dawn until dusk, and we've had to leave that out because we can't close our burial ground at any time because of the public right of way that goes through that path.
So is
down.
that one not in there anymore then?
No,
No.
that is still in there.
I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought we'd have to remove it.
We haven't had to remove it, it's just been there more as
A
a
guideline,
deterrent
yeah.
guideline, so
Right.
it's not enforceable.
Joe,
Can I just ask one thing, please? There are a number of baby squares and children's squares down there, and when you look around, there are like different shapes, like angels and stars and things. Is there going to be a restriction to what shape you can put on?
I have no worries on shapes or sizes. I would. It's purely personal. I think they are more fitting if they are on the plinth and actually either built in or set on the plinth rather than stuck in the ground. You see them in some places, and there's half a dozen of them stuck all over the ground, and it doesn't look.
Most of them do
Yeah.
change colour,
Yeah.
even with one on. We have one on George's Grove and it just changes colour, but it's a butterfly, and that's what I'm saying. The white ones are usually the round ones that just light up. So is there going to be a restriction to such things as butterflies?
That's for us to decide, Colin.
Whilst I can understand perhaps considering restricting the number of solar lights on a plot, I can't see that it really matters what the colour is. I can't really see it all. I can't see the merits of sticking to one colour. That's just my opinion.
Well,
That's purely a request from members. You can vote that down, it's no problem.
yeah.
You know, just to represent people's point of view.
We had an amended proposal there. If we go a second, we've got a second for that.
Can we just see how it, the original proposal is that solar lights will be permitted on grounds providing they are kept in good condition with batteries and or lights changed regularly and not allowed to deteriorate. Where would you put your amendment? You've got to add the word.
It would follow that solar lights should be mounted on or in the plinth for the headstone and should not be
Mounted on or
you can
in
get
the
them where
plinth.
you have
So
a
they- Well, the
charger.
majority of solar lights that are out there at the moment are actually on
That's fine.
a spike of some sort.
Yeah, that's how they're fitted.
On a garden.
So would that
So that
restrict
would mean
those?
that they would have to be, well, obviously if we pass that, they would have to be removed, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what you're proposing.
What I don't want to see is them stuck in so that when we're mowing and we're trimming, that they can be damaged or not. If they're on the plinth, if they're mounted either into the plinth or on the plinth, they're safe. They're not going to get damaged, and that's prevents any issues with them.
Right.
But Mr. Chairman, we've had solar lights on there for many years. We cannot go along to any mother, father, nanny, granddad and say you must remove something from your child's grave. The situation we've got, it's been allowed to continue right up until this day. Unfortunately, we're the people sat trying to sort out past problems. It's going to be difficult, whatever we come to. But they have been there for a long time. They have been allowed or overlooked. And our decision must be taken very, very sympathetic of the people who have been allowed to do this, and we want to interfere with something that they've done for a long, long time for their loved ones that are not here.
Yeah, absolutely. With respect though, you will find that these will not last more than 2 years anyway. Solar lights, if they last more than 2 or 3 years, that's as much as you're going to get out of them. So they're going to be replaced. So it's just when they are replaced that they just follow the new guidelines.
Can I just make an addition to this?
Yeah, carry on. Yeah,
Discussion.
please do.
I'm actually finding now that I'm in a bit of a a difficult decision now because I'm going to completely disagree with what you're saying. Because of the position that I took, which I deliberately chose not to follow my own personal views at that meeting, and in the interests of solving and resolving the issue that I felt this committee were tasked with doing, we came up with what I considered to be the best proposal that we could reach an agreement on. Okay? Is that, I know Mo isn't here, but I know she would agree with that. So I put my own personal opinions aside on that, even though I know that there are people in the village that I represent who do agree with my personal position. I think now I wouldn't have any problem, as Colin says, with adding something that said a limit of 2 per grave or something like that, and no more than that for whatever reasons you want to put. But I don't feel now that we should at this stage be spending all this time discussing something that you asked the burial committee to resolve.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that I feel that we've got a resolution for.
Absolutely.
So I'm asking you now, Mr. Chairman, to withdraw your resolution. Perhaps if everybody's agreeable that we put a limit on the numbers allowed on each grave, if people will agree that, which doesn't seem unreasonable to me, and that we move forward.
If you're happy to propose to amend it and put no more than 2 solar lights,
I'm asking for
I think,
other people to
Mr.
amend
Chairman,
that.
we've gone through a lot of soul searching, a lot of discussion, a lot of people being a little bit unhappy and not unhappy, but we've done away with a poll of the village for a ridiculous amount of money.
We haven't yet.
we haven't yet.
No. Okay.
We hope to. We've brought it back to the council with a proposal. If you wish, after this vote, to task the burial committee to go away and do something else, or re-look, or re-help with it, but I think at this point in time, we put this one to bed, and we put it to bed for a good while. The lights, on the recommendation of the burial committee, will be allowed, and the small things that's been put in, so we can move on, have things set and okay, and if you want the burial committee to go away and discuss something else after, please by all means task us to do it, and we will come back as we can and honest, because we spent a lot of time discussing the different things. But this is the recommendation from the committee which I was on. Our chairman has put it forward quite right, so it's a straightforward vote. Do you want us to report back on what we've discussed, the way we've discussed it, how we've put it, and then if you want us to go away and discuss things further, we're more than willing, but you've got a straightforward vote now. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman,
No,
that's my view.
No, that's fine. So my comment was right at the beginning that we have been prescriptive about everything else on graves, the size, the stones, the materials,
Yes,
absolutely everything. The one thing that we have been, that all of us have been tasked with, one way or another, is people are either for or against lights on the graveyard. By saying that if we say that we restrict it to no more than 2 per plot, that way we have listened to the people that said they don't want any lights in there and said, well, okay. However, we have listened to those that do want them, and we've reached a compromise. That's what it's going to compromise, and I think if we put a limit on the number of fittings, I don't think any reasonable person would say that that's not a compromise that can be acceptable. I don't see any reason not to put a restriction on there when we restrict even down to the size of the lettering of the advert of the stonemason. Even that is prescriptive. I think to not put something in then leaves it open to abuse, and you could get all sorts in there.
I'll request,
I'm happy to accept that.
yeah,
sort
we
of
accept your opinion, but that wasn't our task.
No.
Our task was to go away and sort out this problem. We've come back with the best and the most reasonable answer we can do. And this is something that wasn't part of our brief. Numbers, sizes and whatever, it wasn't part of our brief. So that never came up in our discussion. And you want to add it to it now, outside of our meeting.
Well, that's the parish council's
Yeah.
prerogative.
Yes.
That will happen with anything that comes from a committee.
Yes, sir.
Any recommendation that comes here for approval
We're only
can be
recommending
amended.
it. The council
Yep.
doesn't have to
Yeah.
accept it.
No,
That's
correct.
okay.
Jim.
Just one point, Mr Chairman, is there is an assumption that these items that are allowed are on the plot. There are items actually hanging from trees at the moment, or were when I last went down, such as a wind chime hanging from a tree. So, you know, I think we should, although it's an assumption, I presume by the Borough Committee, there is nothing in writing to say items have to be on the plot.
Mr Chairman, when you said this last time, I did go round and I checked all the trees. I failed to find any chimes.
Actually-
I stand to be
Yes.
corrected, I will get.
Also,
Yes.
Jim, I would like to say that solar lights will be permitted on graves.
Yes, yes.
So
yes.
they aren't permitted
Yes,
anywhere.
yes.
We are fairly
Yes.
prescriptive there.
On graves.
Yes,
I mean, I agree with you about them being in other areas
Yes.
because that affects other people who may not want them.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Totally support that, totally
um,
support it.
Yeah.
solar lights will be permitted on graves. So what it remains to be seen is, do you want to propose, do you want to amend your proposal just to include a number, or what do you want to do?
If Jim is happy to withdraw his on the colour, then I will just say no more than 2 per plot, and I won't say they've got to be mounted on the headstone or on the plinth, as long as they are in close proximity to. I think asking for 2 on each plot is reasonable and appropriate, and we could justify that to the residents who have said that they don't want lights and that on there. I think that's something that is we can actually justify that as well.
Okay.
Karen.
So does that mean that we're not going to put restriction on the colours?
No.
Yes, yeah, that's what he's
That's-
saying,
yeah.
we're not going to.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, do you want me to read out
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
that amendment
Would
make
Yeah.
it sound like? That solar lights will be permitted on graves, provided they are kept in good condition with batteries and/or lights changed regularly and not allowed to deteriorate. And then a separate short sentence, no more than 2 lights per grave. A member of the burial committee will oversee the condition of solar lights and take action to remove any that do not comply with the above.
I think
How
that's
do
reasonable.
people
I'm
feel
prepared to propose
about
that
that?
I
amendment.
think that's reasonable.
Can I find a seconder for that proposal?
I'll second
Yeah.
that if everybody else is.
And nothing about shapes or anything.
No, there's nothing
No.
about shapes.
Nothing about shapes. Right, I propose Sue second. All those in favour of that amendment? That's just the amendment. That's unanimous. Thank you. Right,
Is
so
that okay then?
we now
Leslie?
go back to your original.
So that's the proposal that's put
Yeah.
on. So I've got more. I'm so sorry. This isn't because we did have other things that we had to do. So that was the proposal. So I'm now going to propose that the final version, number 4 of the revised burial rules, which will include that latest proposal of the solar lights plus that little amendment, be approved by council and published on our website following approval, which then means that it remains for the council to decide at the next council meeting, or whichever one you decide on, the method of consultation and whether or not to overturn the previous decision to hold a survey or to have a survey. Okay?
Can I suggest? Can I suggest we do that if we approve these for publication on the website,
That's right.
And then we will then treat the next section about the consultation as a separate
issue. Well, I'm just suggesting that
Yeah.
that should go to another
Yeah.
council meeting.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So if I have a seconder, I'm going to propose that the final version number 4 of the revised burial rules be approved by council and published on our website. Thank
I'll
you.
second that. Right, all those in favour? That's unanimous again. Super, thank you.
Can I just click, when I've written this, can I just clear something up and next one?
Okay.
Right. So, alter the rules to what we've just said. Put them on the website. What about dates? Are we leaving the date of implementation out at this time?
Well, I think we should discuss that finally. I can propose that we implement it on the 1st of January, but I do think the consultation process and whether or not how we go about that may well influence the published date. So I didn't really
So
put
take
that
the
in.
date out.
I don't know if everybody else agrees with that, but you know, I mean, it may well be that that will end up being the date, but I don't want to assume that.
I personally, and it's a personal view, I think that we were going out to consultation because we as a council were under the impression that there was a much higher percentage of the residents of the village that had actually signed that petition. We now have evidence contrary to that. So I think because we've got evidence that is contrary to what we believed, we can revisit that decision because we've got additional evidence to when we made that decision. As such, I question now whether we do need to go into consultation because we've got an agreement that a set of regulations that's been agreed by whole council, and we could adopt those and just put them out for a short consultation. They're published on the website and ask for comments, and after a short period of 3 months, burial committee look at those comments, and then if there's any amendments needed, can then revisit and look at it, and then they will be adopted and enforced. Colin.
Mr. Chairman, you may recall a couple of months ago I was fortunate enough to go onto the course for new councillors. One of the key subjects was the role of the councillors, and one of the chief roles, it was said, is actually making decisions.
Yes.
Now, I would say to everyone around this table, we're a council that's been installed through a democratic process. We should be bold enough to make a decision, and if we think those rules are fit, then I think we should vote for those, and I don't think there will be any need to consult with the whole village. I think we've embraced the opinions of people who turned up in their droves outside, me included, I'll add. I think we've embraced all those thoughts, ideas, disagreements, suggestions, whatever. And I think it's taken a long time. I congratulate the current burial committee for picking up on what was left before the elections. And I think there's no need to go to consultation if we think that fits. There is always the safeguard of, I think it's Rule 53, where the council reserves the right from time to time to make any alterations to the regulations. But I believe that if you wheeled in all the people that turned up out there before, put these rules to them, I think they would say, yes, they're fair and reasonable. That's my opinion. But it's just for, you know, everyone's consideration.
Any further comments?
I choose to agree with Colin on that one. I share your thoughts about the solar lights, and to coin a phrase, the rules are for the guidance of the wise and the protection of the foolish. If someone was to go down there and put half a dozen 7-foot high lights flashing like that, I would be very offended at that because I've got people down there. However, Colin rightfully points out that we have the burial committee, we also have the parish council, and we could do something about that in our role as elected members. So I'm supporting Colin on what he said tonight there.
So I personally am comfortable that because of the additional evidence, new evidence that we didn't have when we made that decision that we would be going into consultation, that allows us to revisit that decision. As our clerk and responsible officer, would you agree with that stance?
Right. I'm actually totally against what you just said. And it's not because I'm not against in principle the council's making decisions. But this is exactly what we did when we introduced the rules the first time. We actually did what we thought we were doing, and I've explained to everybody there was no ulterior motive, there was no way of imposing, there was no intention to do any of that. The rules were all drawn up for good, sound reasons at the time. Okay, there were people that disagreed with them, and that's fine. But the consultation process that took place, you all thought at that time wasn't good enough because it didn't reach the people. And one of the other things that you do get to discuss quite in depth actually now at new councillors training is communications and how we communicate the decisions that are made. And it was clear that, and we accepted it at the time, that the communications had broken down, that people didn't, that we hadn't communicated things in a way that brought the rest of the village along with us. So I don't think in this instance, after everything that's happened in the last year and all the effort that's been put in to people, by people like myself and the original working party as well, made up of 6 people, that we should then say there will be no consultation and no views sought of other villagers. I know we're here to make decisions, and we are a decision-making body, and in the main we do that. But
I totally support what Sue has just said, because we were criticised, the previous council was criticised for not consulting enough. But what you're now suggesting is that we don't even consult that much. Okay, we don't. Okay, we put it on the website. But last time we put it on the website, we put it up on the notice board in the cemetery, and we also had a Saturday morning where it was displayed as well. You're not even suggesting we go that far now. Or the feeling is coming from, it's not even going that far.
I'm in agreement with Sue that I think that the public should be consulted.
we should ask for their opinions on what's happened. It may not need to be in the form of a survey, which we'd originally got and sorted out, you know. But I think, but I also think it is something that we should put on the agenda of how we consult at another council meeting. That actually we've come to this point. We publish, if we're in agreement, that we publish the rules as I've suggested. We agree them, put them on the website, and then at the next meeting or the meeting after, decide how we're going to seek the views of the village to the latest version 4. Sorry, that's how I feel.
I'm happy with that. The question I would then ask is, what happens if it comes back and people don't support regulations?
Well, we look at the numbers again.
We're then back to square one. We are here. The reason we didn't push ahead was because, I think if I'm honest, a lot of us were scared because of the insults and abuse that we got leaving this meeting, and were scared to make that decision because some of the comments that were passed when we left this meeting. It was very difficult for the chair to try and get things through, and it was not a pleasant meeting, and some of the comments that were made were actually downright disgusting. I think we as a council, if we are going to take this decision, we need to be brave enough to take that decision as a council. And I think we have said we have the ability to, because of the evidence that we've now got, we can make that decision. We can put it out to put consultation, but I think if we're going to do a consultation, then because of the criticism that we faced, it has to be a full consultation, and that is £3,500 worth to do that. Otherwise, we're only at the situation that we were the last time when we did it, and we've been criticised for doing it that way. So if we are going for consultation, it will be a big deal because it will have to be done properly. It will have to be done via the district council through the process that they identified as being one that will be valid. And I, as a councillor, am very nervous about spending that sort of money on a consultation when it's something that we as a council could actually decide. Especially when it's got unanimous support of those that were elected on the basis of getting these grade ground rules changed. So that's my view. I'm hoping to listen to comments, Jim.
Well, I disagree, Mr. Chairman. I think there is an in-between. I think we didn't do enough last time, as was proven. I think we can do more next time. I think we should seek the views as best we can without spending a lot of money. And I don't think there's any need to spend £3,000 and have a full-blown regulated survey. I think we can do something a little bit in between, less cost, and at least we'll get a feeling for the views of the people who want to have a view. Not everybody wants to have a view. A lot of people couldn't care less what happens in the cemetery. There's a lot of people who walk away from the cemetery anyway, but there are a lot of people who do care about it, and a lot of people have differing views. There are differing views within the village. They haven't come to a meeting. No, they haven't come and want to stand outside and do whatever was done last time, but they have their views, and I'm sure they would like to express them. And I think we should allow them to express them.
I am happy with that, and as I said, I have no problem with these being published on the website. We can put in our next newsletter that they have been. The proposals are available on the website. They can be seen at the village hall. They can be seen in the library. I think if we make that as widely available as possible, as long as everybody's in agreement that that is the consultation we're going to take, and we're not going to get criticism for not consulting fully enough, then I'm happy to accept that. What I don't want is to go through the same process and then everybody say, oh, you didn't consult fully enough. And the only way to ensure that is a full survey. But if councillors are happy that putting it on the website, having a copy available here, and also then putting something in the next when's the next newsletter go out?
We've held it back a bit to see if we can get something in. It should be out
so
now,
I mean that goes to every home, so and ask for comments in that, and that way then we're going to get as good a response as we're going to get without having to go over the top and then going for a full-blown survey. Colin, and then come to Sue.
I couldn't agree more with those comments, and picking up on Jim's comments, it's never been my intention to spend huge amounts of money on this. As you rightly said, a lot of people don't give two hoots on what goes on down there. So really and truly, the only valuable consultation is to those who are interested. But how you sift those out is another matter. As you said, Mr. Chairman, if there's something in a publication that goes to every home, then that could be the best way to reach them, the cheapest option, providing they've got an avenue to comment in a responsible manner.
So I think if so.
Have we voted on the proposal that the final version number 4 of the revised burial rules be approved? Have we voted on that and approved it?
Yes, that's been accepted unanimous.
Okay, and that's published on the website.
Yeah.
Can I then propose exactly what I said originally? That we put this on the agenda, because actually it isn't on the agenda tonight for us to discuss and to come to a decision on this consultation. And let's all think about it. Let's put it on the agenda for the next week, for the next parish council meeting, or the one after, whichever meeting you decide, for another parish council meeting.
To agree the method of consultation.
To agree the method of consultation. And I agree with you wholeheartedly about the amount of money we spend. But I genuinely believe that there should be there should be views sought.
I don't argue with that at all. I think we need to.
But I was not looking when I suggested that it goes out to consultation. I was looking for a method of consultation that would be acceptable to everybody, but I really don't think that should be on. We've got other things to discuss, and I really don't think that should be on the table tonight.
It is down to burial rules and regulations, so if council wanted to make a decision on that, we can decide.
Yes, they could, but my suggestion was that we put it to the next meeting, okay?
Okay, proposed and seconded. Right, all those in favour of discussing the consultation at the next meeting? That's unanimous. And if councillors could put some suggestions to the clerk as to ways that they think is appropriate, then we can have something formulated for next time.
Can I just remind council that if you want it in the newsletter, it's going to have to be decided, ready to go at the next meeting, because the newsletter has got to go out then, hasn't it?
Can we put in the newsletter that the burial rules are now, we've agreed to publish the full burial rules are published on the website. Sorry, yes, the full proposed burial rules, you threw me then for a minute, are going to be published on the website. We can put a short article just stating what the changes were and the decisions made and the little bits of, and I can go through that with you, some of the additional rules, so you could put, say, 1 page, that's all, of the, what do you call it, the voice, to have, or even a half a page, to have information in that will already direct people towards the website and a possible consultation and to look out for that possibility.
That's okay. I was just sort of thinking that to reach everybody, you need, I was going to put this on the front page, consultation, but I think you need your consultation. I think you need to tell them it's a consultation on that newsletter, otherwise they'll be looking at further information down the line, and the majority of people, elderly people, won't be looking on the website, will they? But if you can decide on the 6th, we can get it out within the next week, we can do it, it's not a problem.
Okay.
If you just make that decision on the 6th.
Okay.
So
the proposal still stands that we put. All right then, so...
We can talk to, hopefully our press will be in the next one, and I'm sure they will put it in the press and say,
okay.
Council which is agreed.
Yeah, I've got to go on to those now.
Thanks, Sue. Okay.
Okay.
Carry on.
So the next thing that we had to sort out at the, I've lost my place now. Oh, I don't know. Right, the next issues that we had to deal with and that needed to be brought tonight to the council meeting are the policies of permanently fixing benches in the cemetery. Okay, now